Hey folks, Jimmy here, aka Palette of the Dead. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to a new Getting Started with Warhammer 40k video. Now, as per usual with all these videos, if you like them, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and of course, drop me a comment down below. I love hearing back from you guys. It goes a massive way to helping out the channel too. Now, with this video, we're going to carry on with our series of looking through all the different factions and what you could get for £200. Now, the way this video works is I am theoretically spending £200 on a new faction to get going. So this will be priced up through Warhammer.com and through a third-party retailer. For these series of videos, I've chosen good old Wayland Games as my third-party retailer of choice. They're slightly cheaper than good old Warhammer.com, so it can be worth it. There are many other third-party retailers out there, such as Element Games, Goblin Gaming, Just Play Games, Leodius Games, and that is just to name a few. So, find the one you like. Some of them do reward schemes, so it's always worth shopping around, and spend who you want to spend your money with. Now, the way this does work is obviously I have a theoretical budget of £200, and this is what I personally would pick for a 40k army to get started with. Now, each 40k army is very different. Every person is very different, so some people would like to play in certain styles, some people will pick things that are aesthetic over utility. I generally am picking more aesthetic over utility in these lists, so some of them isn't exactly how I would probably go if I was spending money, but to get a nice combination of units, this is how I personally would do it. And yeah, it's not too bad, it works out pretty well. We'll also have a look at a rough point score, so the point score can be a bit hit and miss, because it depends on what you want to pick as the loadout, so certain different weapons have different points, if you're choosing certain grenade types and such like, and so on and so forth. It can alter your points, so we'll have a rough points at the end of each faction. Now, in this series of videos, I have already looked at Space Marines, Space Wolves, Eldari, Leagues of Votann, and a few others. So we're going to crack on with a few more pretty cool factions, and we're going to start with a really cool one that I really do like, when I'm not beating the hell out of my microphone apparently. So the first one we're going to look at is the Tzeentch worshipping heretical Thousand Sons. I like these guys. They have a rich lore, being a Space Marine chapter that turned traitor, and in all honesty, we just begin where we always begin with these lists, the Combat Patrol box. The Combat Patrol box gives you a powerful Psyker in the shape of an Infernal Master. We get 5 of the Khopesh blade-wielding Scarab Occult Terminators, and we get 20 Tzaangors. So, the Tzaangors are the Avian Beastmen followers of Tzeentch. Yeah, they're okay, a little bit squishy, but you're getting a decent amount of units out of that box. It's pretty cool, and their aesthetic is pretty nice as well, and quite Egyptian looking, and quite, I don't know, slightly looks like they're slightly linked to Tomb Kings, but not Tomb Kings and such like. But yeah, they're really cool, and one of the nicer unique aesthetics from within the Forces of Chaos. Then I personally would be adding another hero unit to the mix in the shape of Ahriman, the Seeker of Arcane Truths, who, you know, hovers around on a battlefield on a disc of Tzeentch, and is also a powerful Psyker, and yeah, it's pretty cool. He's a pretty cool looking unit, he's a pretty cool looking dude, and yeah, definitely one I personally would pick up, and it's quite an interesting one at the same time. Plus, it's a hero. Everybody likes a hero unit in 40k. Now, I then would have to take some extra units, and I would take some Sorceress units as well, in the shape of the Exalted Sorcerers. You get a few build options with these guys, having different heads, chest plates to choose from, couple of different weaponry bits and pieces, and a couple of extra different tiny little sort of differences, so you can kind of make them a little bit more unique and your own. So it's up to you how you want to go about doing it. And lastly, because this is the last unit that you can afford to take with this army, I would actually take a box of the generic regular Rubric Marines. They are more of your standard Thousand Sons Space Marine infantry. They still have the ornate helmets, and they look pretty dapper at the same time. So They do look really, really cool and genuinely a nice looking army. So if you were to choose this Chaos Sorcery infused army, then in all honesty it's going to set you back £197.50 if you're buying it from Warhammer.com. Or if you go into an independent such as Wayland Games, then you're talking around about the £158 mark, which for an army that's got a rough points value of 1090 is actually pretty good going. It's not too bad. They look cool, they look unique, and they have loads of options to kind of go down. So you can go down the heavily armoured Rune Brick Marines route, or you can go for the numbers game and get loads and loads more Zangors. Entirely up to you. And you have spells and abilities as well that you can utilise in your games, which gives them a bit of a depth that some Chaos factions don't have. So they're pretty cool, and yeah, generally a nice looking army. Right, so we're going from a really, really good points value in that army, and in all honesty, we're going to go to a poor points value now, and it's one of the lowest in the whole series of these videos. Now, I'm not going to lie, this faction was one of the nicest looking factions that came out a few years ago, and I generally did really, really want to get into these guys, and I bought a couple, and I'm not going to lie, I lost inspiration with them pretty quick, and yeah, I'm still not inspired by them. There's still some units I do like, but I don't know, they're a little bit meh, is probably the best way I can describe them. And that is the Adeptus Mechanicus. You know, they look kind of cool, but they're a bit meh and a bit meh to build, and I didn't really enjoy them, so it is what it is. Now, obviously, if you're going to go down Adeptus Mechanicus route, so that is entirely up to you. Obviously, you need to pick out that combat patrol box, so it gives you a Tech Priest Manipulus, who seems to be going around just shushing everybody. You get 3 of the Cerberus Sulphur Hounds, which can also be built as Cerberus Riders, which are the mechanical horse-looking things. You get 5 Taraxi Sterilizers, who look like just absolutely insane pyromaniacs with wings. And then you get the 10 generic Skitari Rangers, which can also be built as Vanguard if you want them to. And that's it. You're getting a decent amount of units for your money, which is really, really nice. However, I must admit, I do find Adeptus Mechanicus just very uninspiring from a painter point of view. I think I find them a little bit dull. It is what it is. Anywho, obviously we're going to need more units to go with this box. So, first off, I would take an extra box of the Skitari Vanguard or Rangers. I would build them as opposite to the first ones out of the Combat Patrol box. So if I built them as Skitari Rangers from the Combat Patrol box, I would build them as Vanguard for the new box. And it's just more of a generic foot soldier count. It just bumps it up and keeps it going. And yeah, gets your unit count up more than anything. Just not your points. I would also grab a box of the Sicarian Rust Stalkers. They can be built as infiltrators if you wish them to be. They're a little bit odd looking. They just look like the Skitari Rangers but with longer legs. But, you know, they're kind of fun and kind of, yeah, okay-ish. So I would probably take these guys because, you know, why not? And then lastly, I will take probably one of their coolest units that you can get from the Skitari, from the Adeptus Mechanicus range, and that is a Sidonian Dragoon. Or if you wanted to, you can build it as the Iron Strider, which has the machine guns on the front instead of the big massive kind of like shock lance thing. It's a pretty cool 2-legged walker. It looks a little bit kind of unwieldy and unbalanced, but it's actually a really nice model. I do have one of these painted up a few years ago. I didn't care much about it, but it's a nice unit, and probably one of the better Adeptus Mechanicus units in my personal opinion anyway. So it's not too bad. Now, if you were to buy that army, in all honesty, it sets you back slap bang on £200 from Warhammer.com, or around about the £160 mark if you're buying it from an independent retailer. However, as I say, the points is probably the lowest of all the different factions, and it only comes in at roughly 475 points, which is pretty poor. Yeah, it's a bit rough, so it's not the best. But you know, you're getting some half decent units. There's loads of ways though you can expand the Adeptus Mechanicus, and I would probably take in some destroyers or breachers if you want to take them as breachers. Take in some of the more mechanical suits and stuff like that because they look a bit cooler. But yeah, it's just not an inspiring army, in my personal opinion. Obviously, somebody will be disagreeing with me out there, but yeah, it's just the way I see it. So that's it though. 2 more factions from 41st Millennium in the bag, and in all honesty, the Thousand Suns is the cooler army out of them 2. Admech is okay, but just okay, just a little bit uninspiring in terms of painting, in my opinion anyway. The Thousand Suns look far more interesting to paint, but yeah, it is what it is. Anyway, thank you very, very much for watching. That's it from me. I'll see you sometime soon. Bye bye now.